Oh, it's still doing it. Oh well. But I'm still live, I think. So it'll be all right. All righty. Mm-hmm. Hi. Okay. I can't see who's talking to me because my screen is a little grayed out. So wait for my screen to come on. All righty. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Katrina. Chastity. Oh, I said that right. Hi, April. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Shantae. How you doing? All right. So, what's my hair sticking up? All right. So, I chose to do a live today because I want to explain something, and I think I do better, or y'all do better when it's live, so y'all can ask questions. Because if I try to post this by itself, I don't think y'all would watch it. But today I'm going to talk about some quirky and odd things that we have to know as medical coders. And I'm so excited about this. I even spilled the beans on myself. So I'm making some worksheets for my Patreons about this very topic, the things that we have to know as coders. And it's just some oddball, quirky things like about animals and about insects. And what are they? Because that's going to be the difference between you feeling lost, like where do I find this? You know, if a patient was bit by a fire ant, you know what I mean? Like, how would you find that? And would you even know where to look in the book? Probably not. If you don't know what you're looking for. Because, first of all, what is a fire ant? All right, so we're going to get into that. So, if you are just joining me, thank you so much for joining me. I am Blue, and I'm a medical coder. And so, we are going to be talking about some quirky and odd knowledge that coders have to have. Now, do not let this overwhelm you. I never make these videos to overwhelm people, and it's always inevitable. I get somebody that writes me, or a few people that write and say, "Oh no, you scared me." Don't get scared. Don't get scared. Get excited because this stuff is fun. And once you start looking at it, then you'll understand. Because I was talking with somebody today, and they were trying to find a code. So, of course, they didn't know where to go in the book, so they went to Google, which is okay sometimes if you know what you're looking for. But they were kind of confused because they were like, well, Blue, it says to code a W code first, which is an external cause code if you have looked in your book, right? And they said, well, can we do that? I said, absolutely not. What are you looking for? And the scenario was about getting bitten by a fire ant. And I was like, okay, well, do you know what a fire ant is? And they were like, well, no. And then, well, like, it's a bug. And I'm like, yes, it is a bug. It is a bug. However, there's venomous bugs and non-venomous bugs. So when we talk about getting bitten by a bug, there's ways to look it up in here. But in your table that starts with a D that I cannot say, DRU, you fill in the rest, and chemicals table, when you go to the toxic effects of venom, right? Obviously, if somebody is bitten by a venomous bug like a fire ant, it is going to be here. So if you go here into that table that I just said, if you look into your book right now and you look at venom and then you see ant, you're going to see the first one. It says the poisoning, accidental, unintentional. Obviously, it's unintended that the person, hopefully that the person got bit by a fire ant. But that would be your code right there, that T code. Okay. So obviously we would have to look back in the tabular section, but here in the index, that's how you would look it up, because this is a venomous bug. A fire ant is a venomous bug. So you would go into your table of D and chemicals. Can't say the D word, okay? YouTube doesn't like it, okay? But it's the table, all right? And so you go to that table and you think of, okay, well, it's not going to be under fire ant, it's going to be under venom, because a fire ant is a venomous insect. So you go there, you go to ant, and then you go whether it was accidental or if it was intentional. That would all depend on the documentation. If it was intentional, okay, then you would select intentional and so on and so forth. But you see how it's a T code here? And there's of course only 6 digits that are in here. You have to go to the back and make sure that you know, is it A, D, or S? A is for active treatment, D is for subsequent treatment, like they're in the healing phase, and then S is for sequela. And you're gonna have to put, like, you know, the the manifestations, that kind of thing. If that's a little bit too advanced for you, don't worry about it. I'll explain it later. But uh, I want you to pay attention to something, because this is where a lot of you are going to get hung up too. Okay, well, I got this T code. Okay, so what about the external cause code? You see, I caught you. Does an external cause code go in a T code? No. For some, yes, but for this, in this instance, let's go to the guidelines. Right here, I'm using my old book right now, the 2025 book, but in the guidelines, if you're looking at chapter 19, injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes, and you see section E, like in Edward, it says adverse effects, poisoning, and underdosing and toxic effects. Codes in the categories T36 to T65, which that ant bite, that fire ant bite, is in the T63 category, right? Because that's what it starts with. That's the category it starts with, is T63. So they're saying codes in the categories T63 to T65 are combination codes that include the substance that was taken as well as the intent. It's already described in the code. That's what they're saying, okay? And it says no additional external cause code is required for poisonings, toxic effects, adverse effects, and underdosing codes. So it's right here in the guidelines. And again, there's no way you would have known that if you didn't know that a fire ant is venomous. Now, if you ever get stuck on something and you're like, oh my gosh, is this a venomous or a non-venomous insect? You can obviously Google that and see what it tells you. So then that way you know to go to the table of D and chemicals, or if you're going to go into the index, you know, and look it up there. But that's how you're going to start. And so I say this to say that that is an interesting scenario, because it perfectly illustrates the use of these tables and the use of the index. And okay, well, we already know that, you know, and it's the same thing for like a catfish barb. So sometimes you get these idiots out here that think it's funny to be hitting each other with a dead catfish, right? There was a video out a few years ago, but people were at, like, I don't know where they are. They were by some water, and so there was a catfish that was washed up on shore. So one of these two little girls chasing each other around, and one of them hit the other one with it. Well, if you've ever been hit by a catfish barb, you know, once that barb goes in, there's no pulling it out. You have to go to the hospital and go have this surgically removed, because you cannot. Once it goes in, there's like little things that stick out that make it impossible to pull it out. So you have to go in, and it's very, very dangerous. Okay. So a lot of the catfish actually carry venom in those barbs. So here we go again. Toxic effect, venom. We see fish right here, and then we see that T code, the T code for the fish, for the, what is it? For the poisoning accidental, unintentional. Well, I don't know. If somebody was chasing somebody else around, it might be intentional. That's when you would report that, depending on what they wrote, though, in their documentation. If they were saying that the friend was chasing the other friend and they got hit with it, then yes, that would be intentional because they intentionally hit them with that. Now, if they were just throwing it around and it was an accident and they accidentally got hit, that would be different. But if they were chasing each other because they were, either fighting or horse playing or whatever, that's a different story. But again, it all goes back to the documentation. But again, if you know that a catfish does carry venom in their barbs, you're good to go. If you didn't know that, then you'd probably be coding something that was completely wrong. Okay. It is so important that just because we may not be experienced as coders, it doesn't mean that we can't ask the questions. And part of it is knowing what we're looking at. And there are so many animals and there are so many interesting things when it comes to how are we going to code these things? How do we get where we're knowing what we're doing and it's correct, is actually correct? Let me mark this page real quick. So that's one of the things that I'm working on for my Patreons right now is I'm making worksheets where they have to identify what type of animal it is or what type of insect it is, because there's different bugs that you would think that are certain things, okay? And then there are certain animals that you would think are certain things, but they're not. It's like possums or opossums. A lot of people think opossums are rodents. They're actually not rodents. They are marsupials. They're from the marsupial family, but they would be classified in ICD-10 as mammals because they are pouched mammals. So that's the thing that you have to know. Opossum is not a rodent. It is a mammal. So there's going to be some animals that are going to be specifically identified in the index, and then there's ones that it's not going to be. Okay, capybara is one of them that is not identified specifically in the index. Okay, so what is a capybara? A capybara is actually a rodent. I would think it would be a mammal, but it is, in fact, a rodent. So if somebody gets bitten by a capybara, it would be bitten by a rodent. And capybara is one of the largest, I think it is the largest rodent in the world. So, but yes, cute, but it is a rodent. And just like, what is it? Squirrels. I love squirrels, but did you know that squirrels are rodents? Squirrel has its own entry, so you wouldn't have to worry about making that distinction. But just something that you got to know. So there are over 2,000 species found worldwide of rodents, ranging from small mice to capybara, which is the world's largest rodent. So the capybara also falls under a mammal, but it is a rodent. It is in that family. So some of the advice out there is, well, if the doctor doesn't specify that it's a rodent, then you have to put it as a mammal. Okay. If we know that the capybara is a rodent, that is never going to change. Yes, it is classified as a mammal because they're warm-blooded, but it is considered a rodent. So that's why we would code it specifically as rodent, not as a mammal. If somebody doesn't know and they code it as, well, I don't know what a capybara is, so I'm going to, put it as mammal. An auditor who knows about this, because trust me, we have weird knowledge. They're going to say, hey, wait a second. Capybara is a rodent. It's not a mammal. I mean, it is a mammal, but it is more specifically a rodent. And so that's when a claim can get denied. And they'll use any and every reason to deny a claim. So you keep that in mind when you're out there. And yes, this knowledge is so stinking important. And people will tell me, "Oh, Blue, I hate coding for injuries." Why? This injuries is like what breathes life into me. I have been saying for the last couple of lives. I'm working in the ER right now. Now, I say this, and of course, you see my face, right? I'm walking a very fine line with it because I want to be back in ortho. I want to be back in ortho, but we're a little behind, so I am helping out. I want to go back home to my ortho. But right now, I am there in the ER. I am happy to help, but I want to go back home. But I said to myself, Blue, you got to find joy in where you are and be present. And yes, while I always try to find joy, sometimes because I am human, I fall into that of, oh man, more ER encounters again. But then I start looking at like, okay, it's not just like just do this and do this and do this, what's happening. So I'm reading these things and I'm seeing different things now. And so because I'm looking for those opportunities to find my joy, I'm finding it. And so I enjoy it. I will be happy when I go back home, to my ortho, but I am finding joy in it. And this was one of those things, and of course, getting that, having that conversation about, okay, well, what is this W, and which one do I put first? Well, you never put an external cause code first. First of all, it has to be a diagnosis code. And yes, while external cause codes are diagnosis codes, it's just the external cause code is telling more of the story. It is not something that you can, use for payment solely by itself. It has to be like, okay, what happened? And so when we talk about getting bitten or getting stung or, whatever the case may be, that's when we have to know like how to get to it in the index. And how do we know that? We know that by knowing what our insects are, okay? We know that by knowing what our animals are, right? Whether it is hoofstock or marine life. Is it marine? Is it a marine animal? So we know if it's a marine animal, it is, in the water. And so is this animal venomous or is it non-venomous? Because that could change how you look it up as well. So there's lots of things to this. But some other examples of rodents, because I didn't know that my beloved squirrels were rodents. I didn't know they were considered rodents. I love squirrels. I have a soft spot in my heart for squirrels. But squirrels and chipmunks are rodents, even though they are responsible for the reforestation, right, of like the forest, because they dig and they plant the seeds and stuff like that. So they're responsible for that. And then beavers are also rodents. Rats and mice, of course, rodent. We knew that one. Guinea pigs and hamsters are also considered rodents. Now, I knew about the guinea pigs and hamsters. I'm just saying. Porcupine is also a rodent, which I didn't know that one. I don't know what I thought about porcupines, but I didn't. Rodent is far from what I would think that a porcupine is. And then capybara being the largest rodent. Um, but I just think they look so cute. They look so stinking cute. But rodents are mammals of the order Rodentia. Hope I said that right. Characterized by a single pair of continuously growing chisel-like incisors in both the upper and lower jaws, used for gnawing. Comprising of 40% of all mammal species, they are the largest order of mammals and include mice, rats, squirrels, beavers, porcupines, and guinea pigs. And then they talk about like the defining features. So, and then it says, oh, that was the other one I was going to say too. So, what is not a rodent? So there's some that you may think, oh, that's a rodent. And there's some that are not a rodent. Rabbits, hares, and pikas are frequently mistaken for rodents, but they belong to a different order called Lagomorpha. They are distinguished by having an extra pair of upper incisors. Okay. Shrews and moles are also not rodents. See, I made the mistake before thinking that a mole was a rodent, but it is not. They belong instead to the order Euliptophia, Liptyphia. I don't know. But yes, so that's something that you should know. But like I said, I'm making these little exercise worksheets for my patrons. I'm so excited. It takes so little to make me happy sometimes. But when it comes to this nerdy type stuff, oh, I'm all about it. I am totally about it. Oh, and let's talk about snakes. So there are some venomous snakes and there are some non-venomous snakes. Snakes can also be documented as a serpent. Snake, serpent, they're the same thing, okay? But biologically, any member of the suborder serpents is considered, serpentes is considered a serpent, right? This is the stuff I found off of Google, right? And it says large constrictors, the green anaconda, the world's heaviest snake, and the reticulated python, the world's longest snake, are considered classic examples of what many would call great serpents. It's a snake. Ain't nothing great about no snake. Venomous species, the king cobra, black mamba, and various vipers such as the Gabon viper are frequently described as serpents in literary content. Common species, even smaller non-venomous snakes like garter snakes, gopher snakes, and king snakes might be belong to the same category. So, so there's those. You have to know about insects. You have to know about animals, and some animals are considered hoof stock, like hoofed stock. They're hoofs, you know. So there's those. There's, of course, marine. And then there are venomous marine animals. And, of course, non-venomous marine animals, you know. Dolphins are non-venomous, obviously. You know, dolphins are known for helping lost sailors at sea. You know, they have a long history of that. So, and they're very intelligent. Dolphins are very, very intelligent. All right. So let's see. Hi, Letty, doing great. Hi, Daphne. Let's see. They make this so hard to see. Hi, Sabrina. Katrina says, had to jump out to become a patron. Oh, thank you. External T code poison. Yes. Makes so much sense. Exactly. Sometimes you have to like be talked through it. Because I remember she was at the time, she was my supervisor, Jessica. Now she's my friend. I adore Jessica because she's so freaking intelligent when it comes to coding. She is literally the only person that I will go to if I have something that I'm stuck on. Now, if you know I'm stuck, I am really stuck. Now, I will go occasionally to somebody around, but for the most part, if I get really stuck on something, I'm going to her. I'm calling her up like, hey, what do you think of this? You know, because she really knows her stuff. But she was really good at explaining. We were in ICD-9 at the time, but she was really good at explaining like, okay, it's poisonings or it's this category or it's this category. She was really good at explaining all of that. So that sort of stayed with me when we transitioned over to ICD-10. So I was very lucky for that one. Gene selection. Oh yeah. Yes. Ouch. Definitely. I'm so excited for this. Michelle, we're like spiritually connected because we're so excited about this. Let's see. Capybara is the largest rodent. Yes. Where do you go for Patreon to find all the goodies? So, in the, what is it? In the community tab, like when you, right as you log in, and then you see like the landing page, you'll see all of the posts that I've been posting. That's where all of the worksheets are at. And then I do have some of them sorted, and I need to like take the time to actually organize all of them. But some of my older stuff is in folders, and you'll see that on the landing page for Patreon. Just have to take some time to like, you know, explore around. But yes, so your screen might look a little bit different from mine, but yes, everything's on the community page, which is like right as you log in. I don't hide anything. So, but yes, I always post the exercise, and then I'll say when I'm posting the answers, or you know, if the answers need to be posted somewhere. So that's where I put that. Um, yes, it is fun. Um, ah, the easiest way was a search bar and to use keywords exactly. Um, the platypus is quite venomous. Oh, I remember the platypus from when I was a little kid. We learned about platypus. Don't forget to thumbs up. Thank you so much, Letty. Ferrets, skunks, and weasels are musty fields. They are too cute. I wonder what kind of animal they are considered. What kind of animal is a weasel considered? Is it a rodent? No way. I can do lizard, but I can't do. Okay, no, 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 no. I cannot do lizards. Blue does not do lizards, snakes, uh, any kind of crawly thing. No, it's cute. No, no, ain't nothing cute about it. Nothing cute about it at all. No, I don't do that. Let's see. What is? Where are we? Why did it? Okay, here we go. What kind of thing is a skunk? Skunk is not. I don't think skunk is not venomous. Let's see. What kind of animal is a skunk? A skunk, okay, is a small to medium sized mammal, so it would be under mammal, but I think that there's a code for skunk. I do think there's a code for skunk. From the family Mephitidae, known for its distinct black and white coloration and strong defense scent glands. Skunks are mammals, so if you know that a skunk is a mammal, right? And if there's not a listing for specifically for skunk, then you know you're going to go to mammal, okay? So that's how those types of things work. It's the same thing like with the capybara. Capybara is a mammal, but it is specifically a rodent. It's in the rodent family. Because there is a listing for rodent, then we are going to use that rodent code. Capybara is also not venomous, so that's good, you know. Which is from the superfamily Mustelodea. They were once classified with the weasel family, but are now recognized as a separate family closely related to polecats and stink badgers. The family includes 4 genera: Mephitis, Cone platus, Spilogale, and Mydaus. I don't know, and 12 species, most found in the Western Hemisphere. So, a skunk is a mammal. uh, Equals musk. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, I know I'm glad y'all can say these words because I can't. I'm just like, but they have these like weird names. It's like taking biology all over again when they have to teach you about like you know, the ecosystem, and you're learning all of that. Yeah. You're learning about the different families. Okay. So you have to know about animals, and you have to know about insects. Insects, you want to think, are they venomous? Are they non-venomous? It's the same thing with marine life. Is it venomous or is it non-venomous? There's going to be a huge difference. And this is why I tell y'all, instead of wasting y'all's time in those stinking freaking Facebook groups, go through your book, because you will start to see different things and it will start to like click better in your head. I've said before, go through your external cause section specifically, so that way you can start to put it in your mind. Okay, if this animal, there's bitten by and then there's contact with. Sometimes you won't see um, bitten by. Sometimes you won't see, like, you won't think, okay, gosh, contact with. Like if a dog pushes you down, right? Dogs like to jump, right? I had a dog named Kitty. Don't judge me. She named herself because her original name was Dakota. She was a black terrier and lab mix. So she was this skinny dog, tall with these big goofy paws, and she loved to run and knock me over. And now I'm not tall. I'm 4 foot 11. This dog was like almost up on my shoulders, and she's just a happy dog. But she would knock me over. So in this instance, I would say contact with dog struck by a dog because she would push me over. So that's how you would look those things up. So there's some you're going to be able to find a lot easier than others. Like with the dog and cat, it's a little bit easier to find those types of things. But you'll see like struck by dog, struck by cat, or like scratched by a cat scratch, those are different things that you can see easily. But it's when you start getting into like the detail, and just because you don't always see it all the time doesn't mean you'll never be exposed to it. Somebody who didn't know about a fire ant being a venomous ant, because there's all kinds of non-venomous ants. There's Argentine ants, carpenter ants, pyramid ants, ghost ants. These are all examples of non-venomous ants. So there's plenty of hardworking ants out there that will not bite you, or if they bite, it's just they have very short little teeth, and it can't really hurt you. Um, but there's just differences in how you're going to look these things up. And it's just like with certain bees, some bees are harmless. They're non-venomous bees, and then you have venomous bees. So again, we're going to look in that starts with the D and chemicals chapter or table, and we're going to look for that under the venomous category if we're looking at a venomous bee. Hopefully you don't have to code for venomous bees because that would be terrible. But if you had to, at least you would know where to look, okay? And we are heading into the spring, although I don't know, here in Texas it tries to act like it still wants to be the winter. Whatever. We're already in the middle of March. We should be in springtime weather here, but we'll see how that goes next week. Let's see. There's codes for spacecrafts. Yes, but unless you live in Houston or Florida, you're not really going to see a whole lot of those. You're going to see insects more, animals more, so we want to kind of look at those. I mean, yes, it's fascinating to see those, and sure, they do get picked up, but again, unless you're in Houston or unless you're in Florida, you're not going to see a whole lot of those, for spacecraft anyway, um I'm just a few months into self-studying medical coding, and honestly, animals and bugs haven't even been on my radar. I know, isn't it so fun? Because then you think about it, it's like something to get excited about. It's what keeps me excited and engaged in what I'm doing, because I try to look for things like, oh, that's interesting. And so when I learn something and I pass it on to somebody else, I'm so excited about that, because it's just like, you never know when you may see that again. And sometimes you may only see that one time. And so, I mean, it really all depends. But again, knowing what different animals are and what they fall under, you're going to be able to start noticing and recognizing those things right away. And there's so many more things, obviously, like with pharma. Okay, again, I can't say certain things, but with pharma, you have to know the type of medication it is. So here's something that you ought to know. When I tell people about self-studying and things like that, and with the independent study syllabus and things, and even when I had it out before, part of that was pharma. There's a whole thing about pharma in there. But the thing that coders need to know about pharma more than anything else is being able to recognize types of medications and types of what is it. So when we know like some of the more popular brand names, right? And we know exactly what they are, and okay, we can recognize that really quickly because like you'll see lots and lots of commercials. Ozempic is one that you see all the time, right? And so you see commercials for Eliquis and all these other things. Eliquis is an anticoagulant. So those are things that you have to know when you are a coder, because sometimes a patient may be on long-term use insulin, and they may also be on a long-term use anti-diabetic drug. Okay, and so when you know your long-term use anti-diabetic drugs, right, that helps because you're supposed to pick them up both Z codes for those now. And so when the patient is like a type 2 diabetic, so you are going to be picking both those up, because it used to be just if the patient was on oral medication and an injectable, then you were just picking up the insulin, right? And then not all injectables that are given to diabetics are exactly insulin, because Trulicity is one that it works with the body. Okay, so it's not technically an insulin, but it works with your body and what it already has. And so at least that's the best way to explain it in such a short time. But those are things that you learn as you go. And that's what I mean when I say we're learning about pharma, okay? Because again, if you have a situation where the patient maybe took too much or too little, and you know what classification of that particular medicine that is going to make it a whole lot easier trying to look it up here. Is it an anticoagulant? Is it an anti-diabetic? Is it, what kind of medication is it? So that's why knowing that is so key. And you're going to be in this table of D and chemicals, and you're going to be finding it that way, whatever you need. And so that's how you're going to be able to find these. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by spending time to like actually look at those things. Now I've already I was talking to somebody the other day on Patreon about that, and I am going to put more pharma exercises up just so that people can get an idea of like, okay, start connecting these types of medicines with what it is, because it is very important. If I'm asking you what is this medication, this medication, this medication, you should be able to answer me quickly and tell me at least what type it is. I don't need to know all the chemical makeup and all this other stuff. No, I need to know what type it is, so that way, okay, you know then okay, we know. Because sometimes a patient, when they come in, they're having a like a reaction to that particular thing. And I'm trying to be very careful when I say, but they may have a particular reaction to it, and because of that, then you're going to know, like, okay, well, what type of thing was this? Was this an allergic reaction, adverse reaction? Is this a poisoning? What is this? So again, so many things to learn, but it's fun. And it gets you like motivated to want to learn more. If I could, I would spend hours and hours and hours doing this. But I too am trying to keep myself disciplined and trying to, make sure that I take care of myself so that I can keep doing all of these things, like I do. Otherwise you'll wear yourself out. Um, I have been sharing your videos and name dropping you. Oh, in medical coding groups. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of this. These little tidbits help to make to these things help make things make sense. Yes, it does. Like I said, sometimes like when you have somebody to explain it and you're not just reading it, then it's like, okay, now that makes sense. Especially like with these T codes and people wanting to use external cause codes with these T codes. Because if you look in your guidelines, it tells you the category T63 to T65, you don't put external cause codes because it's already included in the description of that code. So sometimes we got to be real careful about what we're doing when we are talking about like injury codes and external cause codes. It's like fractures, right? So if a patient comes in and they have a Colles fracture, right? It doesn't tell you how they got the Colles fracture, right? So then if they did it because they fell, that's when you would code for the external cause code of fall, okay? And that fall code has to follow that fracture code, because I always tell my docs too is that yes, it is not a requirement except for a couple of states. I know Louisiana is one of them that requires an external cause code, which thank you, Louisiana, for doing that, because it's very important that these external cause codes are picked up, because there's more things that can benefit the local people when, if there is a particular injury that keeps happening, like in the state of Colorado when there was a bunch of spiral fractures and they couldn't figure out why. But when you have their greatest sport, which is downhill skiing, and and during this downhill skiing, you hit that tree or you hit something really fast, those bones are going to spin. So what they did when they started collecting this data from these external cause codes is they started putting out these safety campaigns about not doing that. And do you know the number of spiral fractures dropped because people were exercising more common sense and being more cautious when they're out there skiing. So just something to know, that external cause codes are there for a reason and we should not neglect them. And we should always, as coders, push for the providers to be as detailed as possible, even if they are just bringing forward that injury code and method of injury. That's what we need them to do. And it's so important. And I tell them all the time, you don't know who's going to be looking at these records, and you don't know where these records are going to end up, if they're going to end up in front of an attorney or in front of a judge. And you need to be able to justify everything that you've done. And so if you have these patients who have, who maybe they were involved in a, domestic incident, okay, with their partner, and, there was stuff going on, and they need to have this evidence because this person, is suing the other person. So all of that is there. It is very important. It's not our business to get involved in, right? But when it comes to things that are being documented, we need the facts. We need to know what happened. So those are things that all of those external cause codes can bring to light, And if there's like a swarm of bees that are venomous and all of a sudden they're popping up in a certain area, okay, what's going on over here? We need to check this out. And why is this code all of a sudden being reported all the time? Like now, like what's going on? So that's when, they can get the scientists out there to find out what's actually happening. And it's the same thing with these mosquitoes that carry like West Nile. It's the same thing, y'all. It is the same thing. They are going to be reported. All of a sudden, we've got an outbreak of West Nile. Okay, now we know where to concentrate on, getting the people the help, because obviously that's really bad. So again, all of these things can be found just by spending time with your book and knowing those little quirky, odd things, like what animals, what insects are venomous, which ones are non-venomous, what would be considered this med, what is this? And so that's how we know what to pick up, and what type of animal it is. Is it a mammal? Is it specifically a rodent? And that kind of thing. So lots of fun things. But yes, when you start getting into it, it gets more exciting. And it's everybody talks about the spacecraft one, which is a fantastic code, right? Because obviously they had to have it for some reason. There was somebody that was reporting it before. But when it comes to like, what are you going to see more regularly? Insects, animals, all kinds of stuff. That's what you're going to see more of. And so when we spend a little bit more time focusing on things that, yeah, that's possible, there's this, there's that, that's when we're going to get a lot better at what we do. And trust me, people are going to be surprised that you know these things because Some of these things is just like, oh yeah, that's that. And they're like, how did you know that? I know that because I'm a coder. I see this all the time. Or I was going through the book and I saw this. So yeah. Um, all right. What did I miss? Um, yep, yep. The endings of common names often denote the same category. Yes. And that's another thing when you are studying the farm pharma, is that you're going to find that the suffixes are going to tell you what class it is. And if you know the different classes, that's going to help you to be able to like know quicker where you got to go in the book too. So just something else to know. um, how do you tell the difference between adverse reaction and a poisoning? I'm doing chapters 1 to 10, and then I miss Louisiana. Aw. So the difference between an adverse reaction and a poisoning. So an adverse reaction means that you're taking the medicine like you're supposed to, and it's doing something it's not supposed to do to you. That's an adverse reaction. A poisoning is, I think it's when you, I know what it is. I haven't had to explain it in a while. A poisoning, let me get it right here. Poisoning is when you're taking too much or too little. I think it's when you're taking too much. Poisoning. When coding poisoning or reaction to the improper use of the medicine. Taking too much, wrong substance given or taken in error, or wrong route of administration. Poisoning. That's what that is. Okay. So taking too much, the O word. Okay. Wrong substance given or taken in error, wrong route of administration. First, assign the appropriate code from categories T36 to T50. The poisoning codes have been associated, have an associated intent as their fifth and sixth character: accidental, intentional, self-harm, um, fighty, and undetermined. If the intent of the poisoning is unknown or unspecified, code the intent as accidental intent. The undetermined intent is only for use if the documentation in the record specifies that the intent cannot be determined. Use additional code for all manifestations of the poison, right? If there is also an additional diagnosis of ABUSE and dependence of the substance, the ABUSE and dependence is assigned as an additional code. And then it says examples of the P word, right? Include error that was made in the prescription, right? Errors made during the prescription or in the administration of the medicine by the doc, nurse, patient, or other person. Taking too much of the DUR, right? DRU, sorry, intentionally taken if an overdose of a was intentionally taken or administered and resulted in toxicity, then it would be coded as a poisoning, right? Non-prescribed taken with correctly prescribed and properly administered med, right? If a non-prescribed med or medicinal agent is taken in combination with a correctly prescribed and correctly administered med, any med toxicity other than reaction resulting from the interaction of the two meds would be classified as a poisoning, right? And then interaction of the med and alcohol. When the reaction results as a reaction, as an interaction of the med and alcohol, it would be classified as a poisoning. So there, my friend, in section 5B of chapter 19, 5B is where you got to look specifically for that one and what that means. And you were asking me about adverse effect. When coding an adverse effect of a med that has been correctly prescribed and properly administered, assign the appropriate code for the nature of the adverse effect, followed by the appropriate code for the adverse effect of the med, T36 to T50. The code for the med should have a fifth or sixth character. S, for example, fifth or sixth character of, is that a 5 or an S? No, it is a 5. Examples of the nature of the adverse effect are tachycardia, delirium, gastrointestinal hemorrhaging, vomiting, hypokalemia, hepatitis, renal failure, or respiratory failure. Yes. So that's what that means. Hopefully that makes sense to you now. But yes, that's what that means. Yes. Yep. Exactly. So exciting stuff, isn't it? But I love it. And I wouldn't change anything about what I do, because I enjoy the learning, and the learning never stops, y'all. It never stops. It never does. So I am going to continue with my exercises for my Patreons for animals and insects. And then what I'm going to do is I want them to identify like the venomous and the non-venomous, and then the types of animals. And then I'm going to do external cause code practice for them, where they have to look up that stuff, because it's very important to get used to external causes. A lot of people will shy away from it. I don't know why, but they will shy away. And it's something that sometimes even veteran coders run from too. And it's, if you haven't had exposure, if you haven't had decent practice, and then if you don't have somebody to ask questions, it does make it a little bit more difficult. So that's, one of the things that, may be contributing to the problem. But hopefully with these exercises, they'll be able to have some fun with it, and it'll be more fun, because once you start exposing your brain to stuff, and it's like, okay, you get used to it, and it's not something to be afraid of. So I'm excited. What is the most important skill to master in coding? That's just too broad of a question. I can't even answer that. There's just too much. Medical terminology, anatomy, the types of animals, the types of bugs, venomous, pharma. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on. The question is too broad. But yes. So, but yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing for them. That's what I'm going to be working on. So very excited. But yes, your book is going to be your best friend in this situation. And pay attention, because when you are working with that table of D and chemicals, and you automatically see those T codes, you're going to automatically associate, okay, what else do I need to do here? Am I going to code for the manifestations, which means what else is coming out of this situation here with this? Is it like vomiting or gastrointestinal problems or whatever? Am I going to have to pick that up? And you always go back to your guidelines, because even though somebody else may not know this, or your auditor may not know this, it doesn't mean that you, as somebody that is even new, doesn't have to know this. You do. And just because somebody says, oh no, that's not how we do it, according to the guidelines, is that required? Yes. Then you're going to have to do it that way. The guidelines always trump. Okay. always. When it comes to this is why we have order. Okay. Now there are some things um, at a facility that may be specific to that facility. So they may have specific guidelines about certain things and reporting certain things because they need it for data collection, or they need it for, that's what their insurance is accepting that code and not something else. Then that's something that's different. But when it comes to the actual coding of like the diagnosis and stuff, you see this here, this is what we're going by. This is the thing that this is what we what we adhere to. um I love nerding out. Yep. A lot of people don't like Z codes. I don't know why. There's so much more that you can say about the story, about the about what's happening. And as long as you visit the Z codes chapter, which I have said many times is very important, to go to the Z codes chapter, to literally take a weekend and just sit there and just look at all of the different Z codes that are available. Because when you have that knowledge in your head, you're not going to memorize everything. You're not. But it is going to give you some, like, oh, there is something about that. There is a Z code for that. As long as it starts planting it in your head, you have something to go on. You're not like these people who are out here who have never opened this book, insist on only using the encoder because they hate books. Then why are you in an industry that requires us to use books? And before you say, well, no, Blue, we have ours in electronic, blah, blah, blah. You can have yours in electronic, blah, blah, blah. But it still doesn't mean that you can't have your book in front of you and use it to help you. Because if you don't know that certain Z codes exist, how do you know to pick them up? It's like a surgical dressing change, non-surgical dressing change. There's Z codes for that. There are Z codes for encounter, for pre-op visit. If you don't know those are things that you're not going to pick up because you don't even know they exist. And then if you see the documentation in there, it may not even register to you that there's a code for that. It's like when they do suture removal. If you don't know that there's a Z code for suture removal, you're just gonna think, oh, this is just a procedure code. But you didn't look in the book, in the ICD-10 and CM and the Z codes, and literally just taking the time to look in that specific chapter in the tabular section that it's going to have, especially if you have the Optum ICD-10 CM Expert for Physicians. If you have this book, it's going to give you tips on how to code. It's going to give you directions too, because it's going to tell you code first or use additional, or whatever the case may be. And it's going to give you excludes 1, excludes 2. That's going to tell you that you can't pick this up, or you can't pick this up, or these two can go together, or this can't go with this. There's going to be a lot of things that you can learn just by looking in the tabular section. Instead of sitting here going around in circles talking about how no one wants to hire you because you just got your certification and you just need to hurry up and get a job. Guys, we need to concentrate on making ourselves good coders. Well, I don't want to spend all this time and it's not for nothing. Well, if you're over here saying, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, instead of preparing yourself to be the best coder there possibly is, so that way they are going to want you, think about that. But again, so many of you out there, y'all are just going the wrong way. And I see it all the time. And especially on LinkedIn, I've had to block 2 people today. One said she wasn't complaining, and she says, oh, I'm not complaining, but she has all these interviews. You're telling all these people that you want these jobs, and then you're saying, well, I hope I get these, that one of them picks her up. Baby, you don't think that they're not looking at your stuff right now? If they know that they're competing against 2 other people, and you're over here saying that, oh, I really want this job, I want one of them, I think they all went well, you think they're going to pick you up? No. I wouldn't. No, this person is doing too much. Doesn't even have the job yet. Already talking about it. Keep quiet. Because the more you sit here and say, well, I'm not complaining, but yeah, you are complaining. You're doing it so much that you don't even think that you're complaining anymore. Well, what about expressing your feelings? Yes, I am all about feelings and expression of feelings. However, when you are on LinkedIn, these are your future coworkers. These are this health information medical coding is a very small community. Even though there are thousands of us, it is a very small community and you get a reputation fast. I have had to block other people before because again, one lady, everybody tried to encourage her, but she had every excuse why she wasn't going to make it, why she was always going to be a failure. I blocked her because one, ma'am, you are annoying. No one wants to hear this. She's over here crying and whining why she can't get a job. People offered her help with her resume. Her resume was terrible. She didn't want it. She just wanted to sit here and complain. And it reminded me of that lady today too. Wanted to sit here and say, oh, well, I got all these interviews. Lady, keep quiet until you get your job offer. And then once you start, then yes, sure. Because people have had their offers rescinded before too. They were out there bragging. As soon as they got their job offer, they were out there bragging. And then they got their job offer rescinded. Keep doing it and see what happens. You know, stop talking about that. Stop saying how hard it is because everybody who has been a veteran coder knows this, has been through it, has gone through it before. I went and looked for jobs for months too. It was 2 months I was looking for a job. That's not long enough. You don't know what I was going through in those 2 months. How dare you? I still worked every single day. 3 jobs, working at the halfway house, working cleaning houses, working at a bar. You know, it's not the easiest thing to work in a bar. And especially when you get these crazy people in there, they talk all kinds of crazy ways to you. You think I wanted to deal with that? You think I wanted to be standing on my feet all day and then being mistreated by people when you're cleaning their home? Do you think that that's a fun time? It's not a fun time. And I was like everybody else, oh my gosh, when am I going to find a job? I didn't know. But you didn't see me out there crying and whining all over the internet because that's not going to help your case. You need to be more proactive when you're out there. And you need to make sure that all your stuff is together instead of fighting against it. Well, why? It's like when I say, okay, your resume, make sure that your resume, well, why? Because your resume is the first mouthpiece that you have to talk to this person. If it's not right, they're going to reject you, right? And then well, it's the ATS reader, you won't. What happens with the ATS reader? The ATS reader is looking, because it's dumb, right? Because it's looking, AI is looking for words. Maybe you put on there ICD-10 and that's it. It doesn't recognize that you know ICD-10-CM because you didn't say that. Or you said ICD-10-CM/PCS. Again, it doesn't recognize because it can't critically think. So what it does when it, quote, gives you that letter that says, oh, thanks, but no thanks, what it does is it sends you to a second pile, which the employer is going to get the first pile that says, hey, this person meets all of our requirements. And then if they go through that pile and none of those candidates were successfully hired for whatever reason, they have to go to that secondary pile. Well, let's see what we got here. So they start looking through that secondary pile and they're like, okay, well, this person looks okay. Let's go ahead and try this person out. So it's not unusual to hear 6 months later for a job that you applied 6 months ago. It's not unusual, okay? It happens. But again, you know, if you're out here with a terrible resume, that's why these resumes get passed over. And I have told y'all several times, is that if it automatically puts you off and says, no, thanks, but no thanks, you print out your resume, you print out your cover letter, because you do need both, right? Cover letter can't be a regurgitation of what you got on your resume. It needs to be your personal skills and why you would be a good candidate for this. 3 paragraphs. You mail it in to that facility. Attention to the HR department or whoever, because usually there's a name there in the job listing that says, you know, who you got to contact. And so then you put care of. Blue, I don't have a printer because I got to come up with all these solutions, right? You got a public library where you're at? Yes. Okay. Well, most of the time at the public library, they'll charge you $0.25 or maybe $1 now. I don't know. But it used to be 10 cents to print off your resume. And trust me, those librarians there, there's some of them that will be happy to look over your resume and see what the problem is. And maybe they could help you fix it up too. Or you could go to the workforce office and say, I'm trying to find a job and I think my resume is not good or something. Can you look at it for me? And they'll be happy to help you because that's what they're supposed to do. And if you find that again they're like, well, we can't help you or we're too busy or whatever, trust me, you go to some senior center or you go to the library and they have like a senior day, because like sometimes they'll have that where the seniors will come in and they'll do like practice interviews. Some cities have that. And they'll talk to the people and they'll interview them, get them ready and prepared for finding a job, and it gives the seniors something to do. And so I think it's fantastic, because there's lots that seniors can teach the young people if the young people listen. So but those are the things that you need to do instead of trying to do it your way, instead of sitting out here telling everybody your sob story. Because again, not that everybody doesn't care, people do care, but you can't be out here saying that, because trust me, there's people who have manipulated people, and oh, well, I'm about to get kicked out of my house and blah blah blah, and it's a scammer. So people are kind of like, it doesn't even phase them anymore because people are out there doing that. And there's people that they're so caring, they want to help. But again, we need to be prepared in ourselves. Watch my videos where I talk about those resume tips. You don't want to go back to my videos, you just Google medical coding with blue resume tips and you'll see all the videos that I've got. Interview tips, all of them are there. And I give y'all tips on the resumes for free. I write resumes. I don't have to give them to y'all for free, but I do. Why? Because I care. Because yes, you can. Yes, you can write your own, I'm just saying. All right. What did I miss here? Is this in the CPT book? What is? What is, Michelle? Um, so read the guidelines for every chapter. Get familiar with the guidelines for every chapter. Yes. Anatomy. I don't know if this is important in coding, but poisonous is not the same as venomous. It depends on how the toxin is delivered. Fangs indicate venom, while touching a poison dart frog is poisoning. I see what you're saying. I like it. Um, but when we are looking up in the book in ICD-10 CM for venomous, we mean poisonous. And when we are referring to a poisoning, that is something different from venomous. Yes, the route of administration of that is different. Fangs, yes, I get it. Spray, whatever, dart, frogs or whatever. Yes, that's different, but again, we're referring to venom, and then the according to the book, poisoning is a different thing. Not it would never be looked at under as poisonous, more like venomous. Hope that's clear. All right. You have to live by the guidelines every chapter. And in the book and in the tabular. ICD book, not CPT. Guidelines is how you know how to code if you code it wrong and it gets denied. I see people complain all the time about not finding jobs. I'm all watch blue. And they're like, she's so mean. Can you work problems in Codify before you get your certification? I do not work with Codify. I don't know. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Thank you, Katrina. Yes. If you want to pay for Codify, use everything you can to find for free before you go for your exam. The more you know, the better you'll do. Um, yep. Elderly advice. Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. And, some of these kids, they act like they know everything. So, oh, just trying to help you. And then, of course, you have some good ones, that will listen and get it, and they're wise beyond their years. So, there's still a few of them out there. But yes, so that's just something that you ought to know when it comes to the quirky things that we do have to know, like about venomous and non-venomous. It's not in here in the index as poisonous. It's venomous. Yes, there are poisonous things, but we refer to it as venomous because we have poisoning as, what, is it a poisoning, is an adverse effect, is it, which one is it? So we have to be careful with our terminology because the book is a little different. That's why it's so important to get familiar with the book and the words that it does use, because like fist fight is a brawl. That's what it's referred to in here. It's referred to as brawl. So it's just different. The external causes, what we were talking about, she was confused on which book you were getting all this information from. Oh, it's coming from the ICD-10 CM book. What is the average number of cases you work in a day? It's going to be different for everybody. And depending on the electronic health records that you use can also impact your ability to be able to get through encounters quickly. I won't mention one in particular, but I'm looking at you. But with that said, every place is different. The average for outpatient coding is between a normal one is between 80 and 150 average per day. If you get to a place that is, demanding 150 per day average, it is something that's very repetitive. It's a very repetitive clinic. It's a very repetitive practice, and they're usually coding from a very limited, codes, set of codes. And so, but yes, you can get that high, once you start getting, more experience and you've got really good relationships with your providers and there's all kinds of good things. But for the most part, 80 to 150 average per day is reasonable. You start getting into places that are asking for 220, 320 per day. That's not a coding job. That's data entry. Okay. Because there's no way that you can look and find codes and, decide on levels and things like that. There's no way that you can do that comfortably at that pace, because it's like 27 plus per hour, which is absolutely ridiculous. And especially the amount of information that we have to go through, and then the thinking that you have to have on top of it. It's stupid. It's stupid to push people to go that fast because we're not computers. And you want to keep getting denials, keep having the people do ridiculous, outrageous productivity. And for those of you still doing it, think about that. Your name is on those records as being coded by you. And if you're rushing because, oh, well, they told me to rush and they said this and they said that, but you're the professional. And we have ethical standards that demand us to code with integrity and to code properly. Things are going to take a little bit longer sometimes. And so, again, it is your responsibility to code it accurately. If you cannot code it accurately and you keep getting all these mess ups, they're going to come looking at you because you're responsible for them not getting bonuses because their error rate is so high. Well, you're pushing me to hurry up and code these. I don't understand why you can't go and get another job. Me personally, I don't understand why you couldn't go and get another job, because they're not the only company out there that's hiring. Well, I live in a small town, blah, blah, blah. There's lots of companies that you can work for. Okay, lots. but you need to make sure that you have your resume correct and you're saying what your skills are accurately and not just, oh, communication and team player. Get out of here with that. I would reject your resume immediately if I saw that. If I saw team player and communication on your skills list, no, because those are soft skills. Those are the soft skills that you include on your cover letter. That is not for your resume. Your resume is the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. It is just the facts. It is one, two, three, boom, 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 boom. And it is on one page. You don't have to list 500,000 things, right? I've seen people put revenue cycle as their skills, and then they say medical billing. What the heck do you think medical billing and revenue cycle are? The same thing. NCD, LCD edits. NCD, LCD edits. Why are you wasting time on this skills list? Why? And then you can't properly put HIPAA. You put it with two P's. I see that all the time on LinkedIn. Are you kidding me? That's why you're not getting called back. It's two A's, not two P's. Two A's. If I had a conversation before with the hiring managers, and they said that's one of the things that's their biggest pet peeve. If somebody cannot tell them what HIPAA stands for, they will not hire you. They will not. And I don't blame them because that's something that we're all supposed to know. But I still get deer in the headlights. And when I did the poll to ask people, what does it stand for? What does HIPAA stand for? Majority of you got it wrong. Majority of you got it wrong. And then always at some point in our career, yes, in the beginning, sure, you forget it or you don't remember it or you mix up the words. But the longer you're in it, you have no excuse for not knowing what HIPAA stands for. I'm just saying, you know. Fisticuffs, yeah. You're welcome. Sorry about that, Michelle. I was like, I saw the conversation going by, so yeah. But thank you, Katrina, for catching that one. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up for right now. But did y'all have fun, my fellow nerds? Because I had fun talking about these animals and stuff. And like I said, I'm very excited working on those worksheets like a nerd for Patreon. So, but it is worth it. It'll help you, you know, it'll help you to get familiar or know some of this stuff. And even if you think about it now and then you kind of forget about it later, that's okay. It'll come back to you. And especially at some point in your career when you are working someplace, maybe in the ER, it'll come back. Like, wait a minute, I know something about that. It's there. Trust me. We just need to trust ourselves when we are out there in the real world that we did retain some of this knowledge. But work with your book, especially if you have the Optum ICD-10 CMS for physicians. I will say this before I wrap it up. Optum, I'm looking at you now. So the 2026s, they had them on a nice discount before. I think it was like 55% off. Now it's 20% off. So I guess they're like, you know what? It's 2026 now, so we're going to hold out and we're going to raise the price a little bit. So they did raise the price on some of those books. And so like they're like $90 now. And I mean, it's okay, you know, whatever, you know, still. If you waited, I'm just letting you know the price is a little bit higher. There's still a discount on them, you know, but it's not as big as it was before. So I'm just saying. So just letting you guys know, but it's still worth it. It is still worth it. I would still rather buy Optum books. This is not an ad for them. They don't pay me. I'm just a huge fan, you know, but I would still get Optum. I would still trust Optum and I would still invest in them rather than in anybody else, any cheaper book, because it's not going to help you. If you have inadequate tools, you're going to have inadequate coding. And that's the long and the short of it. You will have inadequate coding. I'm just saying. So, uh, Katrina, why? Are you ready to hear what it actually is? It is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Right? It's weird, right? Health insurance, really? Health insurance. It feels like it should be information, but it is not. It is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. All right, thank you. Thank you, Shantae. So, all right, guys, thank you for the love, Daniela. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, but thank you guys so much for joining me. I will see y'all next week. If y'all have any suggestions on topics that you want to see, like about the industry or whatever, let me know in the comments below. I'll do that. The like the coding stuff, like any kind of demonstration, whatever, that's more for my Patreons, because when I post it here, no one watches, and so that's why I don't do it here. That's why I had to have these conversations on live, because with these books, because otherwise y'all don't watch them. So hopefully y'all will watch. But anyway, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.